This program is brought to you by the partners of A Rood Awakening International. Help others find truth. Support A Rood Awakening International today.
When things don't go our way, sometimes it's said it's an attack of the enemy. But is that true? Are we being attacked, or are we being tested by a loving Father? Dr. Gail Davis explains tonight, because it's the end of the sixth day, the sun is set, and this is Shabbat Night Live. Well, Shabbat Shalom to our fans. It's Shabbat Night Live with Michael Rood. Stop giving the enemy credit. You say it's an attack, but maybe it's a test from Yehovah. That's coming up in just a few minutes with Dr. Gail Davis. But first, it's a new month with all kinds of new things. Please welcome my co-host, the one and only Michael Rood.
Well, thanks, Scott. It's good to be here with you.
You know what? We matched today. We never even planned this. Your wife is, she knows things that we don't.
Yeah,
We're
that's right.
We look good. All right.
She knows things I haven't figured out yet.
Same with my wife. That's so you know you have a good wife. You know, this month in the June newsletter, we're talking about Shavuot. There's an article in there, and also there's an offer there for this Happy Shavuot flag.
Oh, that's right. Oh, we find that in the Bible in Acts chapter 2. It says it's Pentecost, the day of Pentecost. Pentecost means 50th in Greek. Pentecosta. And that is Pentecost in Acts chapter 2, and John chapter 5 is the first one in Yeshua's ministry. And from there until Acts 2 is just over a year. And there is absolute proof his ministry is not 3.5 years. That's baloney. That was all made up.
It's 70 weeks, just like you said in the chronological Gospels.
That's right.
Yep. And that's now this is the anniversary of when the commandments were shouted down on Mount Sinai, right? That's the correlation.
Yeah, that's about the time. You can't prove it, but you can prove that it is about the right time.
Yeah, I would think it probably, just logically, I would think it is, just because, that's when the word was given on Mount Sinai. There was a mixed multitude, and then there was a mixed multitude really at Shavuot when everyone heard in their own language. So it seems logical.
That's right. It's there's a parallel.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Michael, thank you for being here today. All right, well, Dr. Gail Davis brings us back to the Garden of Eden to redefine obedience and consequences when given the choice to follow or reject Yehovah's commandments. But right now, here's Michael Rood with the Kiddush.
The Apostle Paul said that Yeshua nailed the dogmas, the doctrines and commandments of men, of the arche and exousia, that he overcame, that he nailed their commandments, their man-made dogmas to the cross. And because of that, we are not to allow any of the arche and exousia, any of the religious authorities of men who made up their own commandments to judge us. Because every one of the feasts of the Lord are prophetic shadow pictures of good things to come. So don't let any pagan, let no religious authority judge you concerning the Sabbath, the new moons. And on the Sabbath, we do not allow the world to judge us and tell us what to do. We know that Yeshua paid the price for us. And the last night he was with his disciples when he took the bread and he blessed the Most High with this blessing. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. He said, this represents my body, which is now broken for you. As often as you do this, you do it in remembrance of him. And then Yeshua took the cup and he said, this represents the renewed covenant in my blood. This is what this represents. This is what it's always represented. Do this in remembrance of me. And he said that prayer, Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei Peri Hagafen. Blessed are you, Yehovah, our God, King of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. And he said, do this in remembrance of me, and don't let anyone disparage you. Do this until I come again, because I have made you priests and kings. Shabbat Shalom.
So a little pet peeve here. People say, oh, Satan's attacking me this week. Oh, just complaining about that. Well, okay, wait a minute. Satan may be attacking you, but who allows Satan to do anything? It's Yehovah. Yehovah allows these things to happen to you. Why? To torture you? To make fun of you? No, to test you, to see if you're going to make the right decision out of that situation. So really, who's in control here? Is it say, oh, Satan's attacking? No. Yehovah's in control. We're going to talk about making that decision today. We're going to talk about disobedience with Dr. Gail Davis. Thank you for joining us again on Shabbat Night Live.
Thank you.
You know, Adam and Eve had that choice. The Israelites have that choice. We have that choice when things are happening to us, and instead we decide to push the blame on, oh, Satan's attacking me. I don't buy that.
Right.
No, something's happening here. Yehovah is allowing it to happen to me. He is not going to destroy me.
That's right.
So I need to know that right off the bat. And then what is he trying to show me here? What decision am I supposed to make? So how do we frame this in the sense of disobedience versus obedience?
Well, I think we have to go back to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, back to Genesis. I always go back to Genesis when I'm having issues. Some issues, the Lord said, just go back and read Genesis, And with the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, in part, it was really to provide humans with a choice. He knew what they were gonna do. He knows everything, But they're lessons for us to learn, There's a crafty serpent there, just like we have today, influencing our decisions and trying to turn us against the Lord. Had there been no choice, though, there could be no real obedience. So there has to always be a way to test to see what is truly in our hearts. So the ongoing question for us is whether we'll choose to follow, love, and obey the one true God or not, or do our own thing. So God tests his people, and he wishes to see how we'll react to him and his commandments. The commandments are a big deal. They're a big deal to the Lord. And man, it's not just those, how many was it, 10 of them? It's not just those 10,
10, 12, whatever.
But it's really all throughout the Bible.
Yeah.
He tells you specific, meditate on my word night and day,
Yeah.
That's kind of a commandment. It wasn't listed amongst the 10, but he's got them all throughout the Bible.
Like we said last episode, do not fear.
There you go.
That was a commandment, and it's listed 300 times in the Bible.
Yeah. Don't be anxious for anything.
Right.
That's a commandment. So there's a lot throughout the Bible. Man is just simply acting alone and independently outside of God, which is what we see today. And that's where the issues come from. I refuse to go there again because I don't like the way I felt. And I really didn't know anything. I only know stuff because of him and what he's deposited in me. Otherwise, I tell people, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Right.
I just have him as my guide. He is the CEO of everything in my life, and he orchestrates it. I'll never know what he's going to do. All I know is I trust him, and his plans for me are good.
Yep. That was a great point you brought out a couple episodes ago about making God the CEO of your life.
Yeah.
And not making, we don't run things ourselves here. We need to check with the boss before we make any decisions.
Right.
And see if it's okay with him. And we'll know.
Yeah.
We'll know.
Yeah. I'm not one of those ones that likes to be in the wilderness. Now, if I am going to learn a lesson, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to learn it quick and get out. But to sit and wander because I think I'm independent and I know what no, I don't. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Yeah, it makes no sense. So the followers of Yeshua understand that he alone is the tree of life. He is the tree of life. We have the tree of life living within us, the center of true paradise of Yahweh. So we can have the same access to the tree of life today through him, if we choose. So the first Adam lost access to God by means of transgression when he ate from that tree. But the greater Adam, Yeshua, reclaimed our access, thank you, Lord, by the means of his obedience. I'm sure he didn't want to go to the cross and get crucified and go through all that, But his obedience to the Father to save mankind and restore them back to the Father, that was the Father's plan, and he was obedient to that. So his resurrection life is the first fruits of all who put their trust in him.
Mm-hmm.
So Revelation 2:7 says, to him who overcomes, I will give to eat from the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. I want to eat from the tree of life. Yeah, I do know evil. I do know that. But I'm eating from the tree of life. That's where my focus is, not what Satan is doing. Because we can put Satan in our place and say, you're a liar. I'm eating from the tree of life. So what you say means nothing. So all your words are, fall to the ground right now in Yeshua's name, amen. And he's got to go.
Absolutely.
So we don't have anything to fear with him. And I think the church has made him a boogeyman.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was saying at the beginning here, right? We put Satan on a pedestal.
Yeah, exactly.
As if we're down here fighting him up there. It's the other way around.
I know, right? We need to act like it.
Yeah. If anything, he can bruise our heel, like with Yeshua.
That's right.
We step on his head in Yeshua's name, right?
Yeah, exactly. We have to believe that, though, right?
Mm-hmm. And speak it out.
And speak it out.
Yeah, that's really important. I don't think we speak out enough of those things,
We don't.
Again, bringing out the most powerful time in my life as far as prayer went was changing the way I prayed and then literally speaking those things out and saw things happen.
Right.
Now, in my stupidity, I keep forgetting of how effective that was and fall back into the dumb ways. But I got to be smarter about this and speak the word and just believe what he says about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I may have said even on one of the other episodes is that, that's what that COVID thing was all about. I mean, the enemy knows the power through our words and prayers. He knows. He hung up there around the throne before he got a little too full of himself, okay? So he knows. That's why they try to put the masks on to just shut everybody up,
That's an interesting perspective.
Stay 6 feet apart, you can't meet, and all this other stuff, So, that's what that was really all about.
Separate people, shut them up, make them afraid.
Make them afraid. And of course, depopulation, that too, we'll talk about in a minute, but that's part of it as well, so.
All right. Well, and speaking of doing things our own way, no greater example of that than mainstream media.
Oh, gosh.
We think we can do everything right, and we just put these messages out there. This is the best. This is what we think.
Yeah.
So, especially as far as even food goes. So, how many of our food choices are because of things we see on mainstream media and influencing us to do this or to do that? And I think we really need to be careful about that because that affects our body, which will affect our mind and our thoughts and all that type of thing, just because of the chemical, electrical, careful balance that we've talked about.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
We need to know who our enemy is, and I think it's mainstream media. I mean, what do you think?
I do. I really do. I think they have, and I'm going to talk about this here in this slide, but it's mind control. People are like glued to the television and what they say. And I saw a video that came out where they all have a script and they're all reading the same script at the same time, like all over the world. So somebody owns and controls the media for that to happen.
Oh, yes. All the news agencies saying the same thing.
Saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's mind control. And you believe that stuff, and nobody can tell you any different because you heard it on CNN or whatever those other channels are. I don't even watch TV, so I don't even know anymore. But so it's really crazy. But let's just talk about these corporations and mainstream media because it's important. So these powerful corporations are becoming major influences on mainstream media. I mean, I hate to say it like this, but they're like all in bed together. So
So like Pfizer, for example, will sponsor everything.
Yeah.
Well, who do you think's calling the shots on what happens on that show?
Exactly.
The sponsor. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if people realize that or not, but it's true. Okay. So the truth is that our attitudes, opinions, and beliefs are greatly shaped by what we allow into our minds. Okay. After all, they don't call it programming for nothing.
Yep.
That's what it is. Our minds are enslaved with lies and fear. If you keep hearing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, you're going to believe it. It could be total nonsense, but if you keep hearing it, you're going to believe it. It's the truth, and nobody can tell you anything different.
Well, Nazi Germany was a perfect example of that. The Jews are the source of all your problems. We need to get rid of the Jews. They're the ones creating, bankruptcies in your businesses. They're the ones doing that. They're the ones doing that. They're controlling your money.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of them.
Right. Now imagine hearing that all over the media outlets, all over the nation. It's got to be true. Good riddance, those Jews. And that's not the truth. And that's not the truth. So the mainstream media desperately does not want you to look at the man behind the curtain. They just want you to stay plugged into the programming that they are feeding you without you asking any questions. So be careful of the media, because it's a subtle brainwashing machine. Somebody explained to me one day that television, like when you look at that, it's telling a vision, right, of what you see. It's like you're locked in to being told what you see. It's really part of that mind control.
If you've watched Shabbat Night Live for any length of time, you know we're always talking about something called the love gift. What is that? Well, it's what allows you to see this show right now. Seriously, that's why we talk about it all the time. The love gift is just that, a gift to say thank you and we love you. Really, I mean, without your love and support, this program cannot happen. So yes, we love you, and we want to give you something back when you give your hard-earned money to A Rood Awakening, because we appreciate that. And you might not know this, but when we invite a guest to do a series on Shabbat Night Live, we ask them to reserve an extra special teaching for the love gift teaching, something that is not broadcast anywhere. In fact, you can't get it anywhere except for the love gift. And because of that, you get some pretty controversial teachings that we literally cannot put anywhere else. So if you'd like an extra special teaching for your extra special donation, go to monthlylovegift.com. We'll give you the teaching and even some unique gift items on top of that. Plus, it changes every month. So go ahead and see what's new right now at monthlylovegift.com.
If you just step back and watch someone watching TV or watch someone on their phone, and then just get real basic about it and go, what are we doing to ourselves? We're looking at these little screens, and we're locked in, and we're like zombies.
Yeah.
Willingly accepting whatever is being thrown at us.
Right.
And people might see this and, well, why are you talking about this on a religious program? It's because it's going to affect your thoughts, and you're going to be fearful,
right,
at the very least, of all these things. And that is just not the way Yehovah wants us to run our lives.
No.
He wants us to trust him and do what he tells us. Well, 99% of the time, we're not listening to him. We're listening to the box in our hand or the box on the wall.
Exactly. And all that fear, those fear-based emotions that you're feeling from all of that every single day, it's a perfect way to put you on anti-anxiety meds.
Pharmakia, which we'll get into, I'm sure.
Exactly. So let's look at some of these fast food corporations. Of course, we know we don't eat any of that, but marketing ads can be very deceptive and misleading, and they are. Claiming to be organic when only one ingredient, may be organic, and the rest is full of trans fats, all these colors and dyes and all this other stuff. So much of the food is not controlled by the government, but by food corporations selling it to us. But the government's saying, okay, go ahead, no problem. Food companies spend millions of dollars lobbying government officials to influence votes on laws, rules, and regulations. And most decisions about what goes in our food are without the FDA's knowledge or ours. Wow. So the FDA allows food manufacturers to do their own testing to determine whether an additive is safe. How convenient.
It's like asking a wolf to check on the hen house.
Right. He's probably going to eat them all, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Over 20,000 of food producing factories are getting by without inspections.
Wow.
And there's nothing we can really do about it.
And if there's any doubt, people say, oh, come on, that can't be true. How can they not be watching things? Have you seen our southern border lately?
Hello.
The government can control all whereabouts of people across.
Oh my gosh.
No, look, there's a lot going on in this country, and the answer isn't more regulation necessarily. It's people acting, acting in good faith, which a lot of corporations obviously are not.
Right.
That's the true way to go about it. But the other part of that truth is that there's just not enough regulatory people to be looking after all this stuff at all times.
Look, they do that on purpose, though.
Yeah.
For instance, let's talk about Kraft. I ate that crap when I was little. That's probably, and I had all these allergies and stuff when I was little, and I didn't know why. I just was eating food that I thought was food. We all did. Because, in this country, I feel like we trust that manufacturers have our best interest at heart and the food is safe to eat. But we're being duped, unfortunately. Kraft and many other mega food corporations, they're feeding poison to so many families. And more than 30% of Kraft macaroni and cheese products, they're laced with artificial dyes being sold in America. And these artificial dyes are made, now listen to what they're made from, these dyes that are in the food, Kraft food, and you're feeding them to your children, because I ate them as a kid, from petroleum, which it causes allergic reactions. See, that's why I had all those reactions, and may be tainted by carcinogens, substances that cause cancer. Why are all these little kids having cancer? Right?
Yeah, all kinds of things, including food-like products. We got to remember, this is not food.
It's not food at all.
Food is the apple you pull off the tree.
Exactly.
Food is the cow walking on the grass.
This is not food.
No, it's not. It's a food-like product.
And that Kraft macaroni and cheese, it's on, on the menu of various restaurants we see going down the street. I mean, I don't eat at any of these places, but Applebee's, IHOP, Bob Evans. And notice that the ingredients are not listed on the menus. I wonder why. Now in Europe, Kraft reformulated their mac and cheese without all these dyes and replaced them with natural ingredients, but not here in the US. And this is supposed to be the greatest of all greatest nations?
And follow the money, I think is where.
There you go. Where is the money going? That's really what it is.
Yep.
Yeah. I know.
Subway too? Oh boy.
Yeah, so Subway's supposed to be sort of fresh. I don't know. I don't think so. The salad dressing's loaded with sugar.
Yep.
And this long word I don't even want to try to pronounce right now, but it's an additive found in silly putty.
Oh my goodness.
And breast implants. And it announced that they would remove this long word, another long word, from their bread, which is in a yoga mat. It's a chemical in a yoga mat. I mean, really? The American Heart Association endorsed Subway as heart healthy. Remember, I told you they were all in bed together.
Yes, they obviously didn't look at the list.
Right. So even First Lady Michelle Obama, at her, during the time when she was in the White House, said that that Subway was a healthy choice for kids. That's heartbreaking. That's really heartbreaking. Subway wants you to think that they're serving healthy food, but it's all marketing tactics.
It is. It's incredible.
Yeah. They're lies.
Yeah, they are lies.
And we're not going to talk about McDonald's. I'm going to let you look that up on YouTube.
I think most people can probably figure out McDonald's. Yeah.
I hate McDonald's. Anyway.
So there's some common facts I think here we need to know, which we don't. And you had reviewed these with me before the cameras came on, and there's some things here that I was surprised at as well. So
really?
I'd like you to go through some of this.
What, about cancer?
About the common facts you don't know, exactly.
Okay, well, first of all, we all have cancer cells. Because let's face it, as we get older and older and older and older and older, we don't have these perfect cells. We have done what's called life, okay? And sometimes they can, because we're not always on the wagon, and sometimes these cells the cells in our body might get a little altered, okay? And that can be a problem because we can have these cells, these cancer cells floating through our body all the time. We do have them, but God is so awesome that He designed the body to, get rid of damaged cells and not divide and do all these other things, and to just die off by by way of the immune system. That's why the immune system is very important, to take care of your immune systems by a process called apoptosis. Okay, because that's done in the immune system.
Programmed cell death.
Exactly.
Cells are supposed to die
They're
at some point.
supposed to die. That's right. So this creates a condition under which cancer cells can accumulate. If your immune system's like out of kilter, off whack, it's not gonna do this correctly at all.
Right.
So therefore, you're gonna end up. It could lead to formation of tumors and.
Speaking of foods and food-like products and that kind of thing, and bad diets and all this. The greatest tool for apoptosis to have a greater effect is fasting. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Just avoiding all this stuff. Jehovah said, don't eat anything, and your body will work better. Anything, not all the time, but obviously.
Yes.
But apoptosis works better when we have an empty stomach for 12 hours or more.
I like the idea that you talked about intermittent fasting, because that's an easy fast that people can do. Right? Because sometimes when you say fasting, it's like, I don't want to go without food and just drink water for 3 days, or whatever. To accomplish that, just the intermittent fasting from 11 to 6, and you fit your 3 meals in that time space, that 12 hours after, from the time after 6 o'clock to the morning, that is sufficient. If we did that all the time, that's not hard. That's simple.
Yeah, even 18 hours is fine. Once you get used to it, start with 12, work up to 14, work up to 16, maybe even 18. And then
okay.
Right? Like a noon to 8 or 11 to 6, like you said, noon to 18 hours.
Yeah.
Or 8 hours of eating and 16 hours of fasting. That's a perfect way to go.
But look at the simple solutions that God has to combat all of this.
Exactly. So manipulation of the seed is where we're heading next. I'm looking at your slide here because you have injectable vegetables and fruits, which does not look very natural, but I think that's the whole point of what we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, it's not natural. An apple and a pear, like, sewn together.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you call that, pear apple or something?
Oh, that's not even as bizarre as some things. They've experimented with taking fish genes and put them into tomatoes.
Oh my gosh.
Things of this nature. Well, of course, we're talking about GMOs.
Yes.
So genetically modified ingredients or organisms.
Yes.
Manipulated by who? Man. Of course, here we go again with man pretending he can do things better than God.
Yeah, back in the lab.
And that never works well.
Nope, not at all. So let's start with, what is a seed? I mean, I just talked about the apricot seed, but a seed is planted by the farmer to reap a harvest. A seed is sown as an offering, because there's different types of seeds to the Lord. Whether big or small, it has the potential to do something great, right? A seed is a container for the future. God codes an entire life in a seed when a male and female get together and produce that offspring. So we're all a product of a seed. So just some examples of seeds in the Bible. The word is likened unto a seed. Natural grass seeds, natural fruit seeds, the seed of a man and his sperm, the seed of a woman and her children, the seed of man and a woman, their offspring, the word of God, the seed of your mouth, your words. We talk about speaking. You're sowing a seed into the atmosphere. The kingdom of God. So there are many examples in the Bible of seeds. So it's not just what you plant.
And again, we don't need to be manipulating any of these.
No, we don't.
Don't manipulate your words with the things that you think are best. Speak only what God thinks is best, right? That's why Yeshua said, I only speak those things that come from my Father.
That's right.
Right?
That's great.
Anything we do, right?
Yes, I love that.
And the seed of a man and a woman. Again, I mean, all the nonsense going today with, there's 1,000 different genders and we don't know which one we are. Yeah, you do. Make it simple. Like you said before, Satan tries to confuse.
Yeah.
And he makes things so complicated. But the answers are so simple.
Yeah.
When they come from Yehovah.
Yeah. He wants you to doubt that truth that you know is really true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I saw something where they had a man pregnant. Like, really? Is that the next thing you're going to do? Just, oh, please. This is getting really bad.
It's laughable, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
It really is. So God intended for seeds to produce their own kind. It is in the Word of God. Everything is right there in the Word of God. If we look at Genesis 1:11, God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed. I think I read this, seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind. whose seed is in itself on the earth, and it was so. Genesis 1:24, God said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures according to its kind, cattle and creeping thing and beasts of the earth, each according to its kind. And it was so, because they're also, manipulating animals with whatever.
I'll bet you did not know that being an Ambassador Club member gets you exclusive early access to tickets to in-person events right here at a Rood Awakening headquarters. And I'll bet you didn't know that Ambassador Club members also get private invitations to surprise sales and other appreciation events, not to mention special gifts, cards, and other nice stuff. So why do ambassadors get all these perks? Because Ambassador Club members are the ones who keep the lights on, who make sure that new teachings keep coming, and they're the ones we can count on because they're committed every month. The Ambassador Club is an automated donation program of $100 a month or more if you'd like. So if you appreciate the consistency of a Rood Awakening videos, social media posts, events, and most importantly, people to pray with you on the phone and help answer your questions, be a part of the consistency that makes it happen. Join the Ambassador Club.
So if we look like in the biblical times of the agriculture, tilling the ground for crops and rearing cattle, they were the main employments in this ancient times. So they had to follow the rules of Yahweh if they wanted to have abundance from their harvest. It's amazing. He had rules for that as well because he knew what was happening, I think, underground. But
yep, and sowing and reaping is such a good life lesson too.
Yes.
Aside from just growing the food.
Exactly. So the fertility of the land, it was not automatic. Success and prosperity in agriculture, it came only from Yahweh alone. So if we look at Deuteronomy 29, 9 through 10, it says here, it was forbidden to sow a seed, to sow a field with diverse seeds. That's what we're talking about, seeds that are not of the same kind. But listen to this version here. This version says, I'm including 10 in this, 9 and 10. You must not plant any other crop between the rows of your vineyard. If you do, not only the crops you plant, but the fruit of the vineyard will be defiled. Okay? So he's very clear on the diversity of seeds. They should be all alike.
So when we speak of a green revolution these days, we think, well, maybe that should be a good thing.
I know.
But that's not what it was. So explain to us what this green revolution was and where it came from and what we really need to know about this.
I know, it does sound like something good, right? So this is like really, it's really eugenics which gained popularity back in the 20th century. They believed that they could perfect, imagine this, like these people think they're gods. They believed that they could perfect human beings and eliminate societal problems by doing this, that have the they have the propensity to take a society backwards. So they just figured, we're just gonna eliminate them because they're worthless anyway. They aim to improve the genetic quality of a human population. That's what they were doing here. The Green Revolution. So this was part of Rockefeller's agenda to destroy seed diversity and push oil and gas-based agriculture. Inputs in which Rockefeller had obviously his main interest in. So destruction of the seed diversity and dependence on proprietary hybrids was the first step in food control.
I used to be involved in that, you know.
You did?
I used to write advertisements for genetically modified canola seed in Canada.
Oh, that was bad.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Rapeseed oil.
Rapeseed oil, yeah. Before I knew any of this kind of thing. But yeah, they would present this to the farmers with very lucrative incentives.
I bet.
Where they would buy their crop ahead of time before they even put anything in the ground. You had a guaranteed market of where they could sell this and say, tell you what, we're gonna not only give you $10 a pound or whatever it was for your seed, we're gonna give you 12. And we're gonna give it to you right now.
What?
All you gotta do or guarantee it to you right now. All you have to do is use our seed and our herbicide and nothing else, and you sell us absolutely everything back. And don't keep anything back for yourself, because that would be illegal. This belongs to us, but we'll give you your $12 a pound if you do that. So of course the farmer's going to say, well, I'm already strapped. Why wouldn't I do that?
Exactly.
And so this was the whole manipulation. And it goes totally against what God even says in the Bible about keeping seed back for the next year. That's the whole point of agriculture.
Yes.
Growing a crop to have some seed to do it again.
Yes.
And these corporations are, stepping on that whole, very basic biblical principle.
Oh my gosh. That is crazy. Yeah, I know that they're buying them out, and because, like you said, it's about the money. Follow the money.
And now the Rockefeller, ways are being taken over by people like Bill Gates now.
Yes.
Who are controlling the food. What did Rockefeller say? Control the food, control the people.
Yep. That's his tagline. That's right.
Wow.
And then you've got eugenics research was financially supported by the Rockefellers and other elite families, and they first tested that on Jews in Nazi Germany. So that's what that was really all about. So the weapon to be used was the food, and if there was a famine, food would be used to leverage the population reduction. So like you said, control the food, control the people.
And now I think, wise people of God will, a lot of them are preppers to some degree. Well, what's the first thing we store up because we don't trust what's going on is food.
That's right.
Storable food, because we know that the control comes from control the food, control the people.
Yeah. And I heard like years ago, I would say at least 3, God gives you ample time to do things if you're listening. You need to grow your own food.
Yep.
Of course, we're thinking, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, I'm not going to do a garden this year. Oh, well, I guess you don't want to eat this year.
Yeah. You need to.
Hey, trust me, we have a garden out back that we don't. Again, it's the time thing. We've talked about that.
I know.
We need to devote time to God, devote time to those things He wants us to do, and worry about the rest of the stuff later, and it will all work out.
It'll work out.
But how often do we remind ourselves of this?
I know. But look at what we're facing today. That's why He said it 3 years ago, so we could either get in the habit of it or something to store it up if we could, So basically, Rockefeller, he guides the U.S. agricultural policy. That doesn't surprise us, right? So Kissinger was one of the key strategists of Nixon, remember? Who's nurtured by the Rockefellers. See, it's interesting how Satan puts all these people in place to do his dirty work.
Right.
He used their powerful tax-free foundations worldwide to train an army of bright young scientists in an unknown field of microbiology. So the field of eugenics was renamed genetics.
Really?
And I took that course in school.
That's the same thing. Really?
I know.
Wow.
I didn't know they were teaching bad stuff to make it more acceptable and also to hide the real purpose.
Right. Which was to create a more successful, perfect human beings and get rid of the useless eaters along the way. Yeah.
Crazy. The clear strategy of Monsanto, Dow, DuPont, Bayer, Pfizer, and the Washington government backing them was to introduce the GMO seeds in every corner of the globe. Scientists carrying out honest studies, they were slandered. Reputed science establishment were silenced, or they were made to toe the line that was supportive of Rockefeller's food control and depopulation agenda.
And it's funny you look at that. So these companies claim to have these big humanitarian goals where they will go into places that have trouble growing food, and they know, hey, we have the solution here. Because they do, but it's all with very nefarious goals in mind. And they go to these places in Africa and India and places like, hey, we can help you guys. All you have to do is follow our little system like I talked about before, and you'll be just fine. And then meanwhile, what happens, there's this one story of these guys who did this in India with some genetically modified cotton, not even something humans eat, but it's genetically modified cotton. It has something called a Bt toxin. It's basically botulism inside the seed. So that what happens, is it botulism? I can't remember. Anyway, it's called Bt cotton. What happens though is the bugs that will eat the plant will eat it and then their stomachs explode, is the way this works. So anyway, little did they realize that when they sold this to the farmers in India, that after the harvest, the farmers would allow their cattle to graze on the stubble.
No.
Well, guess what happened to the cattle? Their stomachs exploded and they had herds die. Thousands and thousands of cattle die. Yeah, so this kind of destruction is going on when supposedly good things are going on, but really it's not.
It's not. It's definitely not. Oh my gosh. So in the US, unlabeled genetically modified, unlabeled, they were introduced in 1993. I wonder what made them, label the food, because they can kind of do anything they wanted. But, I guess to pacify whoever, but then they can still sneak in those that, they don't want to label.
Yeah. And even just until recently, I mean, there was this non-GMO project, that little square logo that you see on food.
Yes, I've seen that.
That was created in response about a decade ago or so to the fact that the government was refusing to label GMOs. Meanwhile, Europe had outlawed GMOs.
I know.
America was doing nothing about it. So this company said, fine, we're going to give kudos, we're going to give a nice little seal to companies that can prove they don't use GMOs. So if you're not going to tell us what's in it, we're going to tell what food doesn't have it.
Okay.
So that's why you see those all over the place now. And just in the beginning of 2023, the government did pass something where now if you look on packaged foods, it will say contains or made with bioengineered ingredients. That's your cue to GMOs.
Okay.
So now it has to be on some packaged foods, but it's being slowly adopted, and there's not much marketing or media attention obviously given to it. So you really still have to watch what you're doing.
But that's good. I mean, that's something.
That's at least a start. Yeah.
Exactly.
So we're going to talk more about this in our next episode, because this is fascinating stuff. We're going to talk about bread.
Yes.
Can we talk about bread next time?
Yep.
Because bread's supposed to be a good thing, but it's not. It's not right now. It used to be in Yeshua's time, and maybe we can get back to that with maybe people like Sue Becker, and we'll talk about her too. But she has some great ideas, because I think she has a solution. But anyway, would you come back to us next week?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll do one more episode, episode 4.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you for joining us on Shabbat Night Live. Join us next week for the final episode with Dr. Gail Davis. Again, thank you for making this show happen. Thank you for watching. Until next week, we bid you Shabbat Shalom and Shavuot Tov.
Whenever and wherever you are watching this broadcast, it represents hundreds of man-hours of production and post-production, and then it goes out to the world in several different languages. Why is this possible? It's because people like you support this ministry. We do our best to get this out freely to the entire world. Freely you have received. Now, this is your opportunity to do as Yeshua said, and freely give. Shalom, Torah fans. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Tap the subscription button and the bell icon, and I promise to update weekly with in-depth biblical research. Be sure to download the new michaelrood.tv app for both mobile and home devices for even more commercial-free content.